What is good? It's the Heavyist podcast, weekly worship at the altar of radness. Gary, when you bob your head along like that, it really hypes me up. I'm well into it.
I don't know why.
I'm so much more hype now.
I don't know why I suddenly turn into a nodding dog when we start recording, but it seems to be my go-to move for some reason. But yeah,
dude, it's good.
We're back. It's been a while. It's been a little while.
You might be the official hype man of the podcast.
I need to get a big clock that I wear around my neck, like Flavor
Flav. Boy. Hell yeah. We're back. We've been away for a little bit. There's been so many riffs. We were away for good reason. We were struck down ill last week, dreadfully ill. I had a house full of ill people. Ill baby, ill lady, ill me.
Oh dear.
So that wasn't great. But previously to that, we went to bloody Damnation Festival, didn't we? To look at some riffs.
We sure did. We looked at many a riff.
We looked at so many.
The actual reason we didn't record last week is because you destroyed your voice so much at Damnation that you couldn't speak to actually successfully complete a podcast, could you?
And there was sickness in the establishment.
That was the precursor to sickness, was having too much fun.
I think I brought home some sort of.
Oh no! You brought home
some sort of
goth germs.
That's it. Yeah,
the Cradle of Filth show.
I brought home.
You were in a literal Cradle of Filth.
Yeah, I think Danny gobbed at me, and then by the time you get home, that sort of solidified into some sort of black jewel that then infested the every mirror in the house or something weird like that.
During one of his pterodactyl noises, just a bit of spit just landed right in your mouth. I was like, just landed in your mouth. Yeah, that's a gross visual you don't need, isn't it?
He dactyled some bacteria right at me.
You never thought you were going to get hock-toured by Daddy Filth.
Getting all the buzzwords out here now, Gary. That's going to flash right up the algorithm.
Oh, yeah. Ooh,
Danny Filth, hock-tour, buzzing.
Get out there, buzzing.
Talk
real,
about
no
the Rizzler. Dooms and booms. Yeah, mate, we had a good time, didn't we? So really we weren't going to maybe do a video like what we did for the Fortress Festival, but
I also may have mentioned that we were going to do a video, which I immediately.
Oh, did you?
I think it was only like a post on the YouTube I put up there, but I was the one who immediately was like, son, should we just not? Because this is like you've just had a baby, you've been indoors for 3 months. Like I don't get to go out and have bro time very often. It wasn't just us, we were with some mates, so we were like, let's just and we bought tickets. We were fully paid up punters. We weren't there in any sort of press accreditation capacity, so we weren't beholden to anybody. So we were just like, let's just have some fun. Let's just really
let's just have some fun.
And we really did. You definitely did. You definitely had a lot of fun.
Thoroughly had lots of fun. And I think because it was like a one-day thing as well. I don't think it's going to be really hard to beat that magic of us finding that Elvis-themed cafe, Gary.
Yeah, I didn't see a single cafe that was themed for any of the any crooners or anything like that. I was very disappointed. I was hoping for like a Roy Orbison kebab shop or something, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, Frank Sinatra brasserie.
Yeah,
there was none of that, was there? There's nothing. Sammy Davis Jr.'s sort of bakery.
Yeah. Sammy Davis Jr.'s boulangerie. No such luck. No such luck. That was lightning in a bottle. Yeah. That's never going to happen again.
Tony Bennett didn't own a single Timpsons.
Oh dear! Imagine if we thought that was a good move to go and get your shoes repaired in the middle of a festival vlog.
Sometimes it happens.
Oh dear. This has gone off the rails way too early.
Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah, it was great. So we just had a really lovely time. We deserved a really nice time, didn't we, Gary? We're such good boys that I think sometimes we really do deserve some very, very, very nice times. So we had some. We looked at many riffs. We consumed many beverages. And it was the first time at the BEC wasn't it, Gary?
It was.
It was fantastic.
We were with Ginge, who's a veteran because he goes to Outbreak every year. So he was, showing us around. I mean, it's not really a very big place to be shown around, is it? But, it just felt good to have like Daddy Ginge there to look after us. But yeah, it was really cool. Like, usually, apparently for Outbreak, they usually have a stage outside in that bit where all the kind of the food vendors and stuff were. Or at least maybe that was like the first time they've done that this year. But I think it was good to have that sort of hangout space, big merch tent, plenty of decent places to get food, and that like big bar outside, which we utilised many a time. We sort of made sure we got on site nice and early, didn't we? Because we wanted to catch Enforce, and I think we both were a bit like, like it kind of. I feel like the day took a little bit of time to kind of get going. Did you feel that, or was I just hungover and grumpy because we got out and had a mad one the night before?
Maybe a little column A, maybe a large scoop of column B, but it was it was great. I really liked the layout. I loved how I could see anything that I wanted to. I don't think there was any point in the day where it was like I couldn't go there because there was too many things. That was really awesome.
There was none of that.
Because remember, like last time it was at the old uni, you sort of had them cut little bits you had to go down, and you're like, no, they were like, sorry mate, there's far too many Greebos in here to fit any more Greebos. we could maybe fit in a couple of townies, but we can't fit any Greebos in here. That's what that was like. But no, mate, thoroughly enjoyed it. Gary must have been on cloud 9. He was walking around like people were looking at him. He had the nicest
mate.
So he got this sick tie-dye blood incantation t-shirt, right? He was walking it. He must have had about 7 compliments from random people throughout the day.
Probably more like 25. Like honestly, I think blood incantation owed me a few quid for the amount of viral marketing I did that weekend. Just from people, there was one person came up to me and made me do a twirl because he was like, I've been looking at that online, I might buy it myself, can I have a little look? I do a twirl. And then one of them, this was my favorite one. One woman, she walked past me, she stared at me like I was a piece of meat as I walked past, and then I could see her. She immediately got her phone out and Googled tie-dye blood incantation long sleeve. So honestly, that I sold that one. They owe me some commission for that, honestly. But yeah, it was the talk of the festival.
It was the talk of the town, weren't you, Gary?
Everyone was very interested in my long sleeve t-shirt, and I was very proud of it.
He was floating around the venue like a dandy. People were just the jaws agape. Like, it was sort of like the old wolf in the cartoon, just like the jaws were dropping
and the tongue rolls out. Yeah, it was exactly like that.
Saw a couple of people with the same shirt but in black, and I've officially dubbed that the cowards version. They had to. That was like in the basket. It was there. It was like tie dye. They had to click on coward.
Hit coward in the checkout to get the black one. Yeah, absolutely. Mate. Oh, if I was going to wear it today, but it's actually still in the wash because I haven't done any laundry because I'm useless human being. So I'll definitely wear it in an episode at some point, so the whole of the internet can go out and look at and try and buy themselves one, and it will cost you quite a lot of money because the shipping was expensive, but worth every penny. Every penny. Who are your highlights of bands that you saw? I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to pretend that I don't for the purposes of the podcast.
I was grinning like an absolute idiot, ear to ear, singing along every word to the bloody Gatecreeper set, mate. It was fantastic.
They were so good.
They were phenomenal, and those new tracks, they really do translate well to a live environment. Like the stadium death was on full display. Fists were pumping, beer was spilling. Idiots were screaming and losing their voice like me, and it was just such a jolly time, Gary.
I think there was a marked difference in like how the new album songs translate into that kind of room, because it's quite a big room, really. Like it's probably a bigger room than Gatecreeper would ever normally play, and I think the new songs just really worked so much better to that sort of size of crowd. Like they pulled a big crowd. I mean, we didn't have too much difficulty getting quite near the front, but everyone's very polite, and everyone will sort of step out your way and let you move forward. So although someone did jabbed me with a cigarette. This group of people just walked past, all just smoking cigarettes indoors, like naughty boys and girls. And one of them stabbed me with it and dropped it on the floor. And then had the cheek to look at me like I was a knob. Like, mate, you're smoking indoors. It's bloody illegal. Don't get annoyed at me.
Like, you've put out my cigarette with your mass.
You're like, oh, you've accidentally stepped on my drugs or something. Like, don't do them on the floor in front of me, you clown. Like, it was just like, yeah. Anyway, that didn't tarnish my enjoyment of Gatecreeper. They were so good. Chase had his pit vipers on indoors in the dark, which was brilliant. Was the comment? It was like, if you go to, because it's Saturday, it's like, if you go to church tomorrow, tell the priest you've sinned because you've been banging with a creeper. Which
you're up late banging with the creeper.
I thought that was really funny.
That was amazing.
He's not. I don't think he's really like the kind of big silly stage banter kind of guy, but he kind of just pulls it. He's quite endearing, isn't he? He's quite like you kind of just want to give him a big hug. So it worked quite well. I think. I mean, pretty much every band I saw was amazing, but I have to shout out as well as Gatecreeper. 200 Stab Wounds were awesome, and the amount of people that I would like, because we were hanging at that time when we were watching them, we were hanging with like Jim and the Mastiff Boys and some of their mates, and there was quite a few of them who weren't really familiar with 200 Stab Wounds. We were like, bloody hell, this band are incredible, weren't they? And they were just on it that day. They killed it. They sounded so good. The thing about that band is just how often they sort of change tempo, and there's not a lot of other bands who can pull it off. I mean, I've said it every time we've ever talked about them, but they're just incredible. And especially if you're like if you're a musician, it's the sort of thing that really would draw you in and be like, wow. A band that I had only really gotten into in the last month in preparing myself for bands that were playing that I wasn't aware of, Dragged Into Sunlight, mate, playing Hatred for Mankind in full. I said it at the time, I'll say it again now. I think that might have been one of the best live shows I've ever seen. They were absolutely incredible. And what's ridiculous is they play the entire set with their backs to the audience in black hoods with loads of smoke and strobe lights and red glows. You can't really see much. So it's not like they put on some sort of incredible show that really drew me in with their like live energy. They just were, it felt evil. It felt like genuinely like I was witnessing something proper evil. They have these big TV, so in the album there's loads of samples of like serial killer interviews, and they have these big TVs on the screen where they'd synced up like the actual video from the interviews that they use the samples of on the album. And those on the sides of the stage with like Charles Manson and like Jeffrey Dahmer and stuff, and all of that coupled with the flames and the sort of the big like candelabra that the vocalist was kind of hidden behind, and the whole thing was so good. And that album is brilliant, but it's quite like lo-fi recorded, so it sounded like 25 times better in that live environment where they were so. It just the clarity and the quality of everything they did was just so incredible. Sorry if you can hear Nelson kicking off in the living room. He's there.
Yeah,
I've got Nelson for the weekend, and he's clearly having a strop because I threw his ball in the garden because he made his teeth bleed on it. But anyway, Dragged Into Sunlight were absolutely amazing, and apparently they only play live like once every 5 years, so it's quite a privilege to get to see it.
Amazing. I'm glad you had that experience, man. Like getting into
awesome.
it, getting hyped for the album, getting hyped for the on the album,
and that short space of time, getting excited about it, and then it blowing my mind. Yeah, it was really, really cool.
That's absolutely sick.
What was hilarious for me was how you spent the entire journey up there getting really excited about seeing Daddy Filth and seeing Cradle of Filth, and then you were A, completely hammered, and B, it turns out that Cradle of Filth were actually well cheesy. I had no idea. I thought they were proper like dark black metal. They are cheesy. They sound like Dragon Force with a pterodactyl on vocals. They are like, no disrespect. They were good. They put on a great show and they were good, but I was not ready for them to be like basically Iron Maiden with screaming.
Yeah, it was a really funny one because we had obviously it's quite a long journey up, and we spent the last nearly hour and a half to 2 hours, maybe time. Like quite a long time of the journey, like doing our due diligence. We just listened through like a Cradle of Filth Essentials playlist, and we're all like sort of like, what, this is pretty sick. This is kind of like a lot of this is kind of just like black and thrash with like Danny on, and And then there's some cheddar in there, but then when it came to the live, it was just like, I think I don't know where all the cool bits have gone. Like what? Like I don't know what's happening.
I had no idea that they were as sort of cheesy as they are.
But now we know, Gary.
Now we know.
We're more educated now. We're better people
don't know,
for it.
Now you know.
If you don't know, now you know.
Don't do it. Yeah, they were interesting. They were interesting. Yeah, it was all in all really, really good weekend. Next year is the 20th anniversary. I want to say maybe 25th anniversary. I can't remember, one of the two. And it's going to be a full 2-day event, isn't it? So that's really cool. I'm keen. I'm trying to get that signed off nice and early and
same.
It was a lot of fun. It was a good time.
And I put that request in with HR quite early.
Get that one submitted nice and early. Yeah, Damnation, hell of a good time. If saw a lot of homies, and saw like Ross from God Eater and Jim and the Mastiff Boys, Harry and Finn from Burner. We saw all representing. Saw Tony and Helen, and we saw loads of people. It was just really nice, really good time, just hanging out and witnessing sick riffs.
Yeah.
Oh, I completely forgot to say, Interama. You didn't watch Interama because I think you went to the bar. Blimey. The drummer of Interama at one point was playing a blast beat whilst chugging a beer with the other hand. It was brilliant. Interama looked like they looked like they came in a VW camper van with surfboards strapped to the roof. They do not look like a dissonant black metal band at all. And I love that about them. There was more than one member of the band wearing hot pink, which is crazy. They were killer. So I just had to throw that in there because they were really, really good. Really enjoyed Interama, and I'm glad that I just walked away from all of you guys because I knew you weren't going to go, and I was like, no, I'm just going to go and watch Interama on my own. I'm really glad I did. They were bloody brilliant. Yeah, Damnation 2024, killer. We've got some music to talk about, Sunshine. I know it's November, and people are starting to release then end of year best of year 2024 lists and stuff.
That's flying around.
There's still bands releasing absolutely wicked records. We got a lot of music to talk about, but before we do that, you wanted to just lay out some plans that we've got coming up for the end of the year, right?
Yeah. So end of year pod, we've done it in a couple of ways, and the format that we did last year, I think we're gonna stick to that format, but we're gonna I want to just expand it a little bit and turn it into a bit more of a fun sort of almost like an awardsy kind of thing. Yeah. And I don't know if we're going to be able to do it, but we're going to have some more categories. So typically our categories have all been genres, but I think it's important for us to maybe look at label and best debut and different sort of interesting things like that. And then also some funny ones, most likely to actually open a gate to hell, and little things like that, most likely to make your nan completely throw up at dinner, that sort of stuff. I think so we're going to go a little bit more quiet over the next few weeks, but we are going to do some interview podcasts as well. We've got some really cool guests lined up, some genuinely very cool guests. And but I just really want to make this show the best it could be, and I'm thinking about getting guests in, but maybe getting people in to announce the winners of categories, to get little video that sort of thing, so it's more an awardsy kind of vibe. But anyway, I just wanted to throw out there, say end of year, the Heavyist album, that's definitely going to happen, and this year it's going to be a bit cooler than it's been before. Obviously we've got the YouTube now, we've got a format. We might even get together at Gary's and maybe I was looking up green screens today. I think that might be fun. We put one in we get something in your.
Let's do it. No, we're not using a green screen. We're going to hire an amphitheater. Don't ruin the illusion, Sonny. We're going to hire an amphitheater for for the Heavyist Awards 2024. Yeah. So look forward to that in the coming weeks and
I want to put us in different places, like with a green screen. I want to I've always wanted to be in the living forest from Mortal Kombat, you know, where like the trees. Where maybe we could just be in different Mortal Kombat stages.
Maybe we could wear Hawaiian shirts and be on like a tropical island at one point. I don't really know. Well, barbecue album of the year. That's
barbecue album of the year. We should stop
giving away all of our ideas.
We're gonna and I want to make everybody, all the heavyists and the homies in the Discord, a little bit more involved with like the setup of it as well. Well, not the setup, but like I'm like gonna do like maybe do some submissions for areas and then like have like the vote going in there. I don't know how it can work, but we just want to involve everyone a little bit more. And maybe we'll do, when we do the thing, we actually do it, because I know that through this platform here we can stream it, so we could give people a streaming link so you could come in, watch it, and like I want to try and set it up for like one of those like nonsense days in the Crimbo Limbo where we can bang it out, like sort of like, you know, like maybe like the 28th or something like that. I don't know.
It's a very arbitrary day you've picked there. But yeah,
it's just a day that you have nothing to do that day. Like if you have got anything to do that day, it's probably like eating chocolate or leftover
eating an
turkey.
Entire tub of roses. That's what I've got to do that day, and watch all 3 Santa Claus movies. Big up Tim Allen. So that's really cool. So that's all to look forward to. But you know, there's still stuff happening right now. We're going to talk about an album. The band are called Still. They're a 3-piece band from Hull. They call themselves A24 Black Metal, which is pretty good. I
love it. I think it's A24 Robert Eggers Black Metal as well, which I love.
I think I'm going to call them Wonky Bastards. This new album is called A Theft. It comes out on Friday the 15th. I believe it's released independently. So Still, I remember, I don't know if you were there or if that was you already.
You told me that you saw them.
I think you might have already been wearing long sleeves as a pair of trousers at this point. But I saw them, completely stumbled across them at Art Tangent, and I was absolutely blown away by them. They were incredible, and so I've put my eyes on them since then.
It's not independent; it's coming out by Floodlit Recordings, which is like run by the people at No Studio, which is like Joe Clayton.
Okay,
cool. Which is fucking very cool.
That's very cool. Sorry, my bad. I should have done more research and got that right. But because that's really cool. I honestly think that we talk about a lot of these kinds of bands. I know most of them, if not all of them, come from America. Maybe the only one I can think of that doesn't is like Noise Trail Immersion from Italy. Yeah. I don't know that we have an example of this kind of band that come from the UK. If you can think of one off the top of your head, name it. Ulcerate are from New Zealand, so that's that's
Inter
not
Armour. I thought Inter Armour are actually from the UK. Is that not true?
Inter Armour are American. American.
I'm an idiot then.
Yeah.
Well, like so for my money, the sort of the interesting dissonant black metal kind of stuff. Yeah. For I'm sure somebody's got a great example of something that we're missing. Yeah. But
highlight it to us. I reckon there'll be plenty of them that I've forgotten. But for my money, this is the band for UK dissonant black metal, and this album is class, man. I mean, to release an album in this sphere at the same year as Ulcerate have is quite a tough move, and still have like really pulled it off, and they've really like owned what they're doing. Because you kind of think about what Ulcerate do. Their songs are all sort of like quite long, and they cram so much in them, and they really, without it doesn't. Obviously, I love that band, but you feel the runtime of the songs, right? Because so much happens, and I feel like Still are basically a hardcore band playing dissonant black metal, right? They're just like they're so punchy, and they're so like so much more kind of instantaneous. Like you'd never call this kind of music like what's the word, accessible, but this is probably about as close as that gets in terms of writing dissonant black metal. Like if most of the bands who play in these kind of genres are trying to make you swallow an entire box of razor blades at once, whereas Still have kind of smashed them up into little pieces and snuck them into your dinner, so you don't even know until you try and
they're giving you razor blade poisoning over a series of months.
By the time you realise that it's happened, it's way too bloody late, and your bumhole is a complete mess. Like this album is. I just think it's like 30 minutes, or just over 30 minutes.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's like so so tightly packaged, but yet it's still got loads of really awesome, expansive ideas. Like, it works so well to just kind of make that a reality of like tightly packed, expansive, dissonant black metal.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love it. I feel like the horror is just so ingrained into everything from the moment it opens with these sort of very tense sort of these strings that are very sort of like something's going to break and it's going to explode, and then it does, and then when it hits you, it's almost like it's got like a sludge recording. I feel like this band is sort of equal parts like Great Falls as much as they are like Vigadod, like, or like Achilles. Like, it's like there's such like an impressive, like, hefty weight on this record that is really, really cool. Like the vocals, they sort of like gnash at you from underneath the music, and I absolutely love it. And it's very visceral. It feels like they're sort of got very shredded throats spewing northern hatred at you. And what is quite nice, the inside of this sort of landscape that we've got, and like this music is sort of largely dominated by sort of like Dutch bands, German bands, American bands, stuff like that. Like,
willow tip
it sounds very British in the vocal delivery, which is great, isn't it? It's actually quite nice to hear.
Yeah, definitely. It's got a decidedly like English like approach to it. Like, it's kind of miserable and cloudy, and it's they're taking influence from A24 movies, and that kind of like I associate that sort of the strings and the kind of horns and the kind of like out of tune murmuring kind of idea that they have going through this record. I kind of associate it with films like The Witch, which is such an English film, right?
Yeah, it's folk horror for your ears.
Folk horror for your ears. That. Oh, we don't really need to say anything else. That's perfect. But yeah, and one of the things, like, you get a lot of people who come to us because they want to. I'm wearing a Fit for an Autopsy t-shirt. They want to hear about the latest deathcore. They want to hear about a really cool hardcore band, and this kind of stuff might scare them a bit. But I think like this is the sort of thing. As soon like if you hear us say wonky or dissonant, and you go, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like that. Like, this is the kind of record that I think you could get into it, but like as a gateway to kind of getting to grips with that type of sound.
Yeah, because it is very earthy. It's very heavy and gritty, and like it doesn't feel like it's been put together by spirits. Like, it's not like you don't hear something and go like, how was that even achieved?
No,
you go,
exactly.
Like, this is some very angry boys, and I love it.
It's got tangible riffs and stuff like that as well. Like, it, a lot of those bands probably incorporate 25 layers of guitars of just people just going and just doing like crazy noises, whereas this really does feel like a tight 3-piece band, but they achieve a lot inside that. And that's not in any small part down to the production of it from Joe Clayton. Like, as you mentioned, no studios, and Joe Clayton, I think he's taken everything that he's learned from any Leached record that he produced and funneled that into what's going on here, and it works incredibly. And it gives everything a much more, especially in the drums, like, it gives it a more confrontational sound. Like, in the production and in the performance, it makes the whole thing feel much less weird and noodly and much more like in your face. And I think that really helps with this sound to make that, to pull that off.
Yeah, like post black and stuff like that can often be sort of a bit more twinkling and dazzling than it is like oppressive. And here it's absolutely the opposite way around. Absolutely. It's very, very claustrophobic. It's very sludgy. It's fucking horrible. And
even when they take their foot off the gas pedal when they're doing like Life Eclipses Living, when they kind of ease back a little bit, and even that is still just like evil incarnate. Like, it's just pure evil. It sounds like they've just turned your brain to a stew with that one, like, and they're just letting it simmer on the pot. Like, it's so threatening at all times. But then obviously you get moments like Yearn that are really, really hard and really aggressive. I love the fact that they've got like light and dark as 2 tracks back to back, although really they should be called dark and even darker still, because there's no light in there at all, man. It's just pure dark, sinister, unresolved. I think that's the last track. Maybe it's not. It almost, it's like it's threatening to become melodic at some points during that track, but it never quite gets there. And honestly, I think that's almost more wonky than just doing completely like atonal stuff, to have that like almost like they've played a nice clean chord and just kind of detuned everything a tiny little bit just to make it just a little bit off. Like it unsettles you. It's like trying to sit on the top of a picket fence. Like you just can't quite find the point where your bum settles in. And like I really love the way that they do that. Like this whole record I think this record is an absolute triumph, and it's a shame that it's come so late in the day that it might go under the radar, but I don't want to let it. Like, still, they've really killed it with this record, man.
Yeah, I like the track Oscillate, right? It's it's
really good.
Amazing. It's basically like the interlude track version of a jump scare, because they're already in this like zone, but when it kicks in so much lower than it was previously. That really does like make you go fucking hell. It proper twats you in the gob. It's much more lower and menacing than it had been, and it was brilliant.
You know that noise you know that noise when someone sort of half pulls their guitar lead out of their guitar and it just goes like it kind of does that. Like, I honestly thought, oh god, what have I done? I've broken my PC somehow, like the sound card's exploded or something, because it is so like. And the way that they kind of pepper in that same idea in a couple of tracks earlier, they're like the sort of like the sort of murmur. And then they do it again, but then, they absolutely fuck you up with it when they get to. It's so good. Like it really is, like you were saying, like folk horror. It's that whole like almost the anticipation of it's worse than once it actually happens for the most often, and that's kind of what they do to you with that. It's so good.
Yeah, it's great. It's so dripping with horror worship. I love it, from like the feedbacks and the audible actual jump scares. It's absolute filth. It's completely caked in mud and scabs and all that vile brilliance we love. It's properly bleak as well. It's a properly bleak, maddening journey into darkness. Like there's the sort of the dissonance is used in this sort of like funhouse cyclical manner where it just like goes round and round and round, and by the end of it you're in like Arkham Asylum or something. Like it's absolutely sick, and it's great. I really, really love this record. I think they're merging two worlds brilliantly, and big up to them. It's properly menacing.
Yeah, really, really good work. The album's called A Theft, and it's by the band Still. I love that like their online like handles is Still a Band as well. Like I find that really funny.
And their logo looks like a good party.
Yeah,
it looks like 5 lines. I don't know if they did that on purpose.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to speculate, but yeah, I know what you mean. Basically everything else we've got to talk about is essentially any other Riffness catch up, because we've had a couple of weeks where we haven't been around, and there's loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of music to talk about. But I want to go first, if that's all right, because I really think that I need to talk about the Battle Lovers album. I really need to. It's not often that people actually are like asking us, are you going to talk about this record? Because 9 times out of 10 they know that if we talk about something, it's because we absolutely love it. But I think there's a question mark. There's a question mark on this album, especially when you're sort of thinking about where we're going to sit after we talked about the Many Eyes album and how everyone knows, we're big Keith fans, and where we kind of land when it comes to Better Lovers. So they released their album on the 25th of October. It's called Highly Irresponsible. It came out through Sharp Tone Records, and I'm kind of I don't really know where to start, right? Because I don't know where to start when I talk about this album. I'm really like, because the trouble is, a lot of the like everything you're kind of reading, all the press, all the interviews, everything that's kind of going around, there's this kind of messaging coming from the band that this is like the best thing that they've ever done, right? And you can't possibly believe that, because the 3 bands that make up this band are 3 of the best bands that have ever been. Fit for an Autopsy, Every Time I Die, and the Dillinger Escape Plan. Like 3 of the best bands that have ever picked up guitars on the planet. So how could anybody possibly believe that this is the best thing that any of them have ever been involved in. Like, so you're skeptical straight away. You're like, oh, you know, when a band comes out and they're like, oh, this is the best stuff we've ever done, and you're like, oh no, it's one of your pet peeves. Everybody says that, but is it, how often is it actually true? But like, if it's true, you don't have to declare it. But you know, I obviously really wanted to try and you know, really give this album a proper fair shake and give it some real time. Because I didn't like the EP. I didn't know you didn't really like the EP either. God Made Me an Animal. I had tickets to see him when they came over, and I kind of just didn't go. I don't even think that I had a valid reason to not. I think it just kind of came to the night, and I was like, Brighton on a Wednesday. I don't think I can really be bothered. And I have bought tickets to go and see him when they come here next year, but that's mainly because Greyhaven are supporting them, and I absolutely adore Greyhaven, and I am prepared to make the effort for Greyhaven, which is mad when you think about it, because Greyhaven wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for 3/5 of the members of this band and what they've done in the past, or 4/5 really. Actually, you probably include Greg from Dillinger in there as well. Like, and I'm more excited about seeing them than I am Better Love. So I'm kind of laying the groundwork here, because I think that this album is kind of perfectly decent. Like, we've talked about Ettidcore as a genre quite a lot in our tenure as a podcast, and to me this album kind of feels like a band that fall into that kind of bracket, which is mad, because 3 of them were in Every Time I Die, that they haven't managed to kind of make something that makes me go, this it doesn't transcend what they've done before. It just doesn't. Like, it's a real shame, and I kind of feel like I wish I knew Darren Brown and I could get him to just wipe Every Time I Die out of my mind, and then I could get really excited about what is happening on this album and be like, oh, this is an amazing debut. I can't wait for the rest of it. But like, I just know what I know about what has come before it. You know, I know Miss Machine, I know Hot Damn, I know these albums that are like my favorite albums of all time, and I'm here listening to this Many Eyes out. This is this Better Lovers album, and I kind of like, much like we said with the Many Eyes album, like, or much like I said with the Many Eyes album, I think that Better Lovers are doing the best thing when they're trying a bit harder to not just do the same stuff that they always used to. Like, there's 2 songs on this album that are really, really melodic, and they are by far the best tracks on it for me. Lie Between the Lines, which is a huge, huge banger. It's got some really, really great melodies. So the thing about Greg Pichato, when he screams, I don't think he's got anywhere near as much character as when he sings. And I think he should really focus on pulling his singing voice out and like leading with that rather than leading with the screaming. Because, like, you know, he's a good screamer, but it's not as much like of a signature as there is on the Keith Buckley screamed like heavy performance. There just isn't. So I really think that they should have like lent into the differences between this and what they've done before. And it feels a little bit too much like they've lent into what the comfortable stuff from the Every Time I Die like back catalogue and the kind of playbook of what they do. And I think that's a bit of a shame. Something else that I'm going to say, which is, this might blow your mind a little bit, son. Obviously, Will Putney is a member of this band. He produced the album, and I kind of feel like was a wrong move. I feel like they shouldn't have just let Will record it. They should have gone to somebody else who could challenge them a bit more and say, "Are you sure about that?" Not just a member of the band who's just, you know, he's caught up in the whole furore of the whole thing, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's great. Let's do that." And they should have gone to, you know, like a Ross Robinson or a Rick Rubin or someone like a high profile person who's known for producing albums and putting a stamp on them and giving the band, you know, questioning a band and challenging them and going to, are you sure? Like, is that
or
right?
Mark Ronson.
Yeah, maybe Mark Ronson. Maybe, what's his name? Bloody I can't think of his name. Pharrell Williams. I don't know, like something. Maybe they should have just gone somewhere and just got challenged a bit more rather than just doing more of what they know and sticking to their kind of their comfort zone. Like, the more I have listened to this album a lot of times, I have really like done the work. It's not like I've kind of casually listened to it once and gone, maybe not. Like, I've really spent time with this record, and it has really grown on me. It has really grown on me. The more I listen to it, the more I kind of, every time I listen to it, I can forget about the stuff that I already know a little bit more, and it gets it gets under my skin a bit more. And like I say, the choruses, every time Greg Pichato sings, I'm there. I'm really in. But it's just some of it. It's just like, I mean, it's the second to last track, At All Times, which is the other really big melodic song. That's one that's sort of the most of a big departure from what you'd expect. I mean, I guess Greg did Black Queen, so you don't really know what to expect. That guy can go full pop if he wants to. And that song is kind of like, dare I say, it's almost got like a Foo Fighters-y edge to it. Like, it's really, really like rocky, but it sounds brilliant, and it's got huge melodies. It's really heartfelt. You really believe it. And I just feel like if they'd have written that song earlier in the writing process, then I think they would have completely scrapped 3/4 of this album and just been like, we should probably focus more on doing this because we're bloody really good at it. And I kind of hope that, like, as they go on, maybe they think about that a bit more. Maybe they do go to a different producer. Maybe somebody else does, ask them a few more questions and put a few more what ifs out in front of them rather than just letting them go with what they know. So yeah, in conclusion, the Better Lovers album is a good record, but I don't think it's anything to get excited about like a lot of people in the world are.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I think about it.
Have you checked it out? I wasn't sure if you had checked it out.
Yeah, like only a few times, and my main takeaway was, thank fuck it's not buried Many Eyes completely. Like, if you look at, I want them two sort of albums facing off. Like, realistically, like, I mean, on paper, they're gonna decimate them in the war. They're gonna write the better album. The talent is over on that side so massively. And when I saw, and obviously we were very honest about the Many Eyes album. It was great. There was bits I really did love about it, but I think it wasn't sort of musically all the way there. And I'm just really surprised that this album wasn't like 3 times better than the Many Eyes album. That's what I'm like. I'm just kind of stoked that it just completely didn't bury like Keith's record. Like, I don't think it does. I don't think it does.
I can see what you mean. Like, I would definitely argue that in the post Every Time I Die Cold War, Better Lovers have won. Like, this is the better album of the two. I'm still really keen to hear Atomic Rule, which is Andy's new project that he's working on. I'm really keen to hear, because I think they're doing those Blissmas shows, whatever they're calling it, the Better Lovers Christmas replacement to the season. And I know he's been working on stuff. You see him on social media, and I'm really keen to hear what that sounds like, because I have no idea what to expect. And I really feel like what I've been saying with both of these records is you should stop trying to sound so much like Every Time I Die. And I feel like Andy won't. Andy will do something that's much more his own thing, and that's what I'm really looking forward to hearing that. But I would say Better Lovers have won the battle, but I think the war is still anyone's for the taking kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah,
I agree.
Highly Irresponsible by Better Lovers. A perfectly decent record. So you wanted to talk about something that I found quite surprising when you told me that you wanted to talk about it, but I want to hear what it is you want to say about it. I'm interested.
Dude, the Counterparts EP blew my entire tits off.
Oh my God, man.
Dude, they've had a late game glow up that is so hard, and it's made me so happy. I've listened to it so many times. It's so furious. They've just, like, I don't know, Brandon's just gone, look. He's just gone, look, Gazers, End are killing it. Everyone loves End. I'm constantly complaining on Twitter about not selling enough tickets to Counterparts shows. we need to fucking do something here. And they've gone, okay, like, hold my beer. And they've just written the hardest EP they've ever written, and fuck me to death, is it heavy? It's so sick.
It rips, doesn't it? Is it called Heaven Let Them Die? Is that what it's called?
Heaven Let Them Die.
Yeah.
It's so
surprise drops,
so
which
sick.
is really cool as well. I love that they did that, just dropped it out of nowhere. Brendan does specifically say in the press release that we got that it's the heaviest thing they've ever written, and I can't argue with that at all. Like, it rips. And like Counterparts are a band that I went through a period of actually being really, really obsessed with.
Yeah.
Like,
Mate,
current
early stuff.
incredible album. The difference between Hell and Home. We literally did a podcast episode about the difference between Hell and Home back in the day, when we used to occasionally talk about like stuff from the old days that we loved. You know, we used to call it cult classics, and we did it every now and then. And we did a whole thing about that album because we both think that album's absolutely incredible. But they just completely dropped off the radar for me. Like, they just kind of kept doing the same thing. It was a bit rinse repeat, and every time they did another album that didn't really move the needle, my interest in them got less, to the point where I didn't even listen to the last record.
Yeah, it got a bit samey, and it got a bit like, it was just a bit sad, and like, you know, like that sort of energy wasn't really sort of like that sort of like woe is me energy wasn't really where I was at anymore.
No.
Like, you know, we all just get older, and we just the energy is very much like, I want to burn down the earth. Like that's where we get to.
Yeah.
We get
Especially
jaded.
the earth is as it is. And honestly, the shot in the arm that this band has had in this EP, I want a piece of whatever that is, because it's incredible. The energy and the life that's been injected them just by being a bit more hateful is awesome.
Mate, it's just such a brilliant surprise to have something from a band. You know, kind of liken it to sort of like a long running show that you like really used to like, and then maybe by about season 4 you dropped off, and like this is like them announcing that they've cast Matthew McConaughey in season 5 of True Detective. Like, this is what that it's all that everything you wanted. Just it's there. It's so hard, man. It's so constantly aggressive and scathing. All the lyrics are so bluntly life and death. It's so invigorating. It's just taken the end stuff, sprinkled it in, and it fucking rules. Like, it's just incredibly hard, and I think it's unanimously adored from what I can see.
Yeah, I think you're right. Everyone's really, really into it. Like, what's the track? No Lamb Was Lost, which I think was they released as like a kind of double header video when they dropped the EP. And that track, like that final breakdown, and that track is so hard, isn't it? It's so hard.
It's so hard. It's so hard, man.
I also really like that they kind of stripped away some of they were quite quite techie at times. They would sort of mess around with time signatures and do weird switches and stuff. And quite a lot of that has been stripped away in favor of just direct aggression. And I think it really makes it feel more impactful. Like, yeah,
it's incredible. Like, if you like us, like, used to enjoy that band but kind of fell out of love with them, you need to go and get your ear rolls around it, because it's just an absolute just glow up. It's brilliant.
And if you've stayed with that band the whole time, then you must be feeling quite vindicated right now off the back of this, off the back of this killer new EP. Now, I wanted to talk about something else before. I think we're basically going to take it in turns, I think, because we've got quite a lot of stuff we want to chat about. And I really, really, really want to bring up this record, which comes from a band called Laws, 5-piece post-hardcore band from the kind of New York, New Jersey area. It's a debut. The album is called Book 1, Panthalassa. This was put onto our radar by the bassist of the band and lovely, lovely man and homie of the show, DJ Scully, who you may know because his credits include the number 12 Looks Like You, the Sawtooth Grin, and So Hideous, which are all bands, and Undead Empires. They're all bands we've talked about on the show, and he's the bass player of a lot, and all of those bands, or at least he was for a period of time. And I'm kind of at this point where if DJ Scully's involved in a band, then they're probably going to be wicked. And so I think you sent this to me, and you were like, dude, you need to listen to this. When the first single dropped, you're like, you're going to bloody love this. And you were not wrong, dude, because this is absolutely awesome. This album I'm just in love with it. Like, I've talked about it on the show before. My old housemates used to be in a band that was signed to Big Scary Monsters, and we used to go and see Big Scary Monsters bands all the time because they were either touring with them or they were friends with them and they were playing in the nearby. And I was like so familiar with that whole scene. TTNG, Meet Me in St. Louis, Blackfish, Tube Lord, Second Smile, all of that kind of stuff was like my bread and butter for a good couple of years in the kind of 2010s. And I listen to this and I kind of hear like Laws basically are like an American filtered version of that 2010s like UK kind of math rock scene. And I love it. I'm so into this album. I think it's incredible. In a year where we've had the Bloody Blood Incantation album, we've had Fit for an Autopsy, we've had Gate, we've had some amazing albums. This is definitely skirting around at the top of my favorite albums of the year, dude. Like, this is so good. This is so good. I love the way that the guy sings. He's got a really weird way of putting a melody together. And I love Moontooth, one of my favorite bands, and I just love it when a vocalist has a weird approach to melody and it just works. I'm really into it. But the other thing that really sets this band apart and makes you get properly excited is what DJ referred to as additional percussion, and as I referred to when I was talking to him as bongos and shit. This band has an entire separate member of the band who plays like percussion instruments, including bongos and all the different. He's got like a full setup of like different stuff, and he's constantly on the go in all of the songs. And these are not uncomplicated songs. I think I was talking to DJ about it, and he was like, essentially, there's no moment in any song that actually just repeats straight up. He's like, every bar is different to the last one, and he's like, it's an absolute headfuck to learn and to play, but they're not straightforward songs in the slightest. It's complicated. And then you've got this guy jamming out on these bongos and stuff in the background, and it just creates these songs that are just like, they undulate, and they're so melodic, and the melodies are so catchy. Like it kind of feels like it shouldn't make sense that it's such a complicated band that do something so catchy, but they crush it. And this is just, I've just been absolutely adoring this record. Have you checked it out properly, Sam?
Amazing. No, I haven't. Oh, only the single. I've been very busy.
Yeah, there's been a lot going on. I know that. I understand that. You really should, though, dude. This is a real awesome record, and like, I just think it's a bit different to the kind of stuff that we normally talk about. But I love it. Yeah. And also, I think we're gonna try and get DJ on the show for a chat, because he's been in a lot of cool bands.
Amazing.
He's also got another project that are releasing a new record in the new year. So he's a busy boy, but yeah, I really strongly recommend anybody who likes a bit more melody, but they like their music technical, to check out this Laws record. It is well good.
Nice. I want to talk about, and I can't believe I'm saying this in the year 2024, I want to talk about an EP by All That Remains. Dude. Bro.
Dude.
Brother.
Dude. What's this EP called?
It's called Forever Cold, and it came out on the 8th of November. It's a 4-track EP, and it is some of the greatest golden era metalcore that you're ever going to hear. Like, if you're a fan of heavy music that used to enjoy All That Remains back in the day, like if you used to listen to fucking This Darkened Heart and The Fall of Ideals, like they're absolutely goated, like completely goated. But that band like really kind of dropped off for me, and then so since then, I don't think they've been super active. I think the last thing they properly put out was like 2010, by the looks of it. Oh no, they've been no, I'm a complete liar. No, they've been smashing out albums, but
I've just not been watching.
But the thing is, I just didn't care. They just really fell off for me. But this little EP, mate, is so much fun. They've created, like, this is proper back to their old sound, But also they've got this, they've almost got like this like soil work injection where they're making these huge melodic moments, like absolutely soar. Like, if you're a fan of if you were back in the day listening to like Killswitch and Shadows Fall and All That Remains, then this is like absolutely going to be your cup of tea. Go check this out. It's massive, it's melodic, it's full of riffs and pedals, and it's that classic sound. It feels like it could be the sequel to Fall of Ideals. It's like they've taken some additional influences by like soil work to help them sort of scale up the melodic parts of their track to just deliver a really fantastic EP. Like, just really kept me smiling and engaged and daydreaming of all that old merch you used to have, and like that low life buckle that you shouldn't have put on Vinted, and that time your mum made fun of you for straightening your hair. Like, it just really, it's proper metalcore comfort food, and I am so here for it. Like, I feel like it's a band that they've sort of managed to sort of recapture a bit of that magic This isn't a band I expected to be like bashing out this sort of heat like this late in the game. There's just a part of my soul that's very much at peace knowing that like that kind of metalcore is still alive and they're crushing it, and it's superb. Like I can't recommend it enough. I really, really think it's great.
That's really cool. Can I ask, what made you click on it in the first place?
I'll be honest, mate. I think it was on like a release thing. I think it was like when Spotify like gives you like this is out like
okay,
and I was like, oh, is there? I'll have a go. I think it just must have been a slow time in the day because I could have this could have completely passed me by. But I think if you ever enjoyed All That Remains, I think you do yourself a massive disservice by not checking out this EP.
Okay, noted. There was something else I wanted to talk about. This is something that we came across in what I consider potentially the coolest way to find a new band, which is their singer is in our Discord server. And he shared his band. They're called Obeah. They're a 4-piece metalcore band from Northampton, and they've got an album coming out on Friday called Chemical Well, and it's coming out through 3 Dot Recordings. So, yeah, the guy's name's Carl, the singer. He's in the Discord. When we got emailed the album by the PR agent, and I sent him a little message, and I was like, "Oh, we just got sent your album, man. It's really good." And he basically sort of explained to me that Obeah used to be called something different, and they were a band since like 2010. And, you know, they're 4 best friends in the world. They've done a band for quite a long time. They've all had children. They've all got proper jobs and mortgages and all that kind of boring grown-up crap that we all have to kind of deal with. And they've always just kept up writing music as mates all that time as a sort of a creative outlet in a way, and just almost just an excuse to hang out. And they essentially wrote and recorded an album and thought, well, why not email it around, shop it about, and it ended up in the inbox of the label manager at 3 Dot, which, if you don't know, is the Peripheries record label. And they were like suddenly really keen and like wanting to snap them up and sign them. And now here you go. And they got an album coming out for quite a high profile
absolutely
label.
Sick.
Like Periphery, it's not just, you know, Astronoid are on 3 Dot, Boundaries are on 3 Dot. Like it's quite a cool place to just kind of randomly. I mean, these boys, they should get out on that Boundaries tour that's happening in April. They should come and we'll see you in Southampton if you do, boys. So that'd be really cool. But yeah, this album is really, really fun. It's just a really fun, bouncy, kind of moderately techie. Like it's not too like obnoxiously time signature hopping. It's quite straight up, but it has got that kind of techie bounce to it. Like in the press notes, they list influences as Meshuggah, the Acacia Strain, the Maya, and Deftones. And I just want to highlight the Maya there because that's a fucking cool pull. That's a band I haven't thought about for a while. Glass Cathedrals by the Maya is an awesome record. But I just basically think these guys are just kindred spirits of ours, son. Like, you can clearly hear they're well into Fit for an Autopsy, anything involved in Buster, anything involving Jamie Graham. Like, you can hear all of that kind of influence coming through on what they're doing. And I think, I don't know if it's me knowing the kind of backstory about what this band kind of are and do, but it just feels so like genuine. Like there's no like metalcore cash grab moment going on in any of it. Like they're doing it for the love of the game. They're doing it for just pure enjoyment of music. And you can really hear there's not like a cynical millisecond on the whole thing. It just feels really, you know, they're not trying to be the next Sleep Token or anything like that. Like they're just writing hard riffs because they want to, and they want to bang their head. And it feels, when you listen to it, like they, you know, it's nice that somebody else likes it, but if you didn't, they wouldn't give a shit because they'd still be doing it anyway because they love it. They love that. They love doing it. And I love listening to a band. You know, I feel like they can join the ranks of, you know, all of our homies like Burner, like Mastiff, these bands, UK bands who are doing it for the love and just so happen to kind of spill upon everybody else who hears it and goes, this band are really sick. And I'm really into this Obeah album. Every track's sort of like 3.5, 4.5, somewhere in that kind of region, and they're just all bangers. There's a word that someone uses in the bio which really stuck with me because it properly sums up this band, and that word is airtight. There's just no bloat at all. Every song's so perfectly concise. Everything's really painstakingly put together. It's exciting and vibrant. It's punchy. It's fun, and I really think, I mean, like, metalcore in 2024 hasn't been the most hotly contested category for what we would kind of talk about in the end of year. But I would probably I'd put this up there with some of the best stuff that we've heard so far this year. Like, I think it's a really, really fun album, and I think they're a band that could potentially be flying slightly under the radar. They got about 8,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, which isn't, it's nothing to be sniffed at. That's definitely respectable. But I think that a lot of people could do a lot worse than checking out the Obeah record that comes out this week. It's very cool.
Hell yeah, man. Before we go, I want to talk about another EP that is dropping this week by another UK band called Vicarage. The EP is called Perfect Hatred.
Very hard name, can I just say?
It's incredibly hard. This thing rules, dude. These guys, they are rocking, like, the influences, like the influences that these guys have are the sort of thing that make me just completely get straight behind a band. Like, they're properly got a lot of cult leader going on. There's like this there's also this more expansive sort of blackened dissonant angle that sort of sounds like big, like devouring ruin by Wake moments. They're just clearly students of the absolute correct cocktail of bands that makes me incredibly fucking happy. It's a really sick little EP. The first track is like 7 minutes. It's fucking double hard. I was rocking out with Max with it this morning, and he absolutely bloody loved it. He was smiling the whole time.
Was he sick?
It's just proper. He wasn't sick.
I would have taken that as a seal of approval if he was sick.
He was sick earlier. I was doing a puppet. I got finger puppets earlier, and I did make him sick at that. So I don't know if that was just an incredible performance. Working on this rabbit character,
Oscar level performance of finger puppets. Yeah. This Vicarage EP, man, they're fucking swinging for the fences with these compositions, like you're saying, like
brother,
the influences. But they all throw literally all of them into every track. Like, it's not like, well, that's the one track that does that. That's the one track that does that. They're like, the range of what happens in these songs is enormous. Like, they can go from like something that's almost borderline like a hardcore punk track to like full-blown black metal and back again. Like, it's really, like, these guys are going for it, and I love that. Like, I feel like in the world in 2024, people are scared to like do something that might make it difficult to put them on a bill because, we're too hardcore for the black metal kids, or we're too black metal for the hardcore kids. And Vicarage is just like, no, fuck that. We're going to do all of our best ideas, and that's the thing that's most important. I love that about it.
And there's a proper sort of conscious like mosh element to all of it, so it's like you've got all these really cool and there's almost like these like mathcore elements and like proper like metallic hardcore elements and proper like stompy elements, and it's just proper Heavyist bingo, man. Like, this is a band that you should you should get some stonks. Get the stonks, bro. Get them while they're fucking low, because this band are doing things that are very exciting and very cool. It's proper calamitous filth. It's very sonically invasive. It's got a brilliantly horrible, insane vocal delivery. And it has like soaring melodic heights that crash into blackened moments. It's fantastic, man. Like, it's a really, really brilliant EP, and I think it's their debut EP. So like, they've done like a 2-track demo or something, but I think it's their first like proper release. But like, this is fantastic. Like, this is a really good pairing, like, for a great week in like UK music. Like, Vicarage, still, they're like Still's like mangled little brother, aren't they? They're like, They are fantastic, mate. You have to go and check out this EP when it comes out Friday. Actually, another brilliant UK band. We're not done. This is the last one, and then we'll get out of your ears, because there's too many bands in one episode, Sonny. No one's ever going to have time to listen to them all. Another fantastic UK release from a band called Spider God. So Spider God have been on my radar for a little while. They play like hyper melodic black metal. And it's fantastic. They're on Repose Records, which is a really cool, interesting home for brilliant black metal. They put out records like one of my personal favorites in a long time, that Byzantine record. It was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I was really interested to see when they announced that they had a new single coming out, and they had a new single and they had a new record coming out, and they've slightly pivoted their pitch, and now they're calling it like black metalcore or like hypermelodic black metalcore. So it's a very cool little switch up, man. They're putting metalcore in this, and I think it works fantastically. Gary, how have you been enjoying it?
I really was looking forward to. I was worried we were almost going to forget to talk about this because we talked about so much. But this record is kind of mad, isn't it? Like, one of the things that it mentions in the influences is Underoath, and you listen to it and you're like, yeah. Do you remember like the pre-Spencer Chamberlain Underoath, like the Changing of Times? You ever listen to the Changing of Times? This is like, there's so much changing of times going on what's happening on this EP, on this album. Like, it's that like the kind of weird synthesizer parts with like a kind of vocal delivery that doesn't quite make sense, but also makes it even more cool because it's different to what everybody else is doing. Like, the way that it kind of comes together is mad. And I really, really respect that someone's having a go at trying to. Like, I don't think I've heard a band who sound like this before. How often do you actually get to say that? How often do you get to say I've not heard it? I mean, you can hone in on the parts, but I've not heard a band think I'm going to put this together, and it works so much better than I expected.
And like, I thought I knew what I was going to get when I saw the tag black metalcore, but like it is metalcore, but it's there's like huge parts of it that it's like MySpace core, because like I hear like I get like masses of like Atreyu in there, and even like old From First to Last in there, and like buckets of Coheed in the composition as well, and like the way that the riffs roll out, like it's that golden age of MySpace music.
There's even like a couple of tracks like Star Crusher, for example, that sounds like a Maylin and the Sons of Disaster song.
I was thinking
like
it was
really
like
big lumps of rock and roll going on in that song. But you know, there was that whole like southern rock. Like every time I Die released Gutter phenomenon, suddenly there was all the metalcore bands started wearing cowboy hats and like flannels, and it became much more like throw a bit of cowboy into what you're doing. And it's got a lot of that going on, like the early Norma Jean sound, and it works really well. It's a really cool blend. It's strange.
Yeah. It's fantastic to have all these really cool sort of effervescent black metal textures with fucking breakdowns. Who doesn't like that?
What's it, Faustian Pact? Faustian Pact, where they do a full blown like hellcore breakdown, like a proper like Drop Dead Gorgeous or something, like proper MySpace scene kid breakdown in the middle of basically a black metal song. It's so cool. It's such a cool idea.
Really cool. I think these guys are up to some cool shit, and you have to get your ear rolls around it.
It's like a studio project. I think because again, like I was saying on the last, like when you're scared of what bills you're going to fit on when you blend such opposing sounds, but when you're just one dude and it's kind of a studio project, it's like, fuck it, let's just go for it. Let's just swing for the fences. Let's see what we can make work. And I don't know, I feel like he's cooked up something crazy here. He's like the first person who ever put matcha in a cake. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's crazy. And I can really see this.
Like when they started putting bacon crumb on desserts.
Sugar on bacon and made candied bacon. That's essentially what this guy's done. And everyone went, that's mad. But before you know it, they're selling it in every like high-end cupcake shop you go to. Like, that's kind of what I think has happened here. Is Spider God is like, he's hit on lightning in a bottle, and give it 5 years and everyone's going to be copying him. But for the time being, he's a pioneer. Cool. Yeah, man. Pioneering. I really respect it. Really, really respect it. This is a very, very cool, just kind of exercising, fuck it, let's try it. And I respect that so much. What's the album actually called? I've written it down here somewhere. Possess the Devil.
It's called Possess the Devil. It's out this Friday.
It's very cool. Yeah, I think that's what we can't talk about any more bands. There's just too many bands. We need to stop.
That's it.
I know we got a lot of big catch up we have had to do where we've been away living our lives and having too much fun. we picked up quite a lot of new faces especially on YouTube in the last like couple of weeks since we did Gay Area and Fit for an Autopsy and a Blood Incantation episode. So hopefully our rambling about just massive lists of bands haven't put the new people off, because we like to do
Hopefully
this.
It's giving you something to check out.
Yeah,
It's what we love to do, talk about like fantastic new releases. And I think this is an incredibly strong showing for the UK, Gary. This week you got Still, Vicarage and Spider God. That is such a bloody good week for UK
Makes
music,
you proud.
mate.
You need something to make you proud to be from the UK sometimes, because
you need something.
Although Americans ain't got a leg to stand on in the last couple of weeks, have they? But anyway, we don't talk about politics on this podcast. We talk about riffs, and we will be around talking about more riffs in the coming weeks. Particularly
we'll be back talking about riffs. We might be talking to people about riffs. Even.
We might be.
So if you've enjoyed the show, check out all the bands we talked about. All the links will be nicely in the little video or in the bits and bobs. You can click them. You can go and listen to them. Or you could also come and hang out in the old Discord. Like I say, we're going to be ramping up towards the end of the year. We're going to be getting the heavies. I think we're going to call it the heavies. And do you know what maybe we should do is, like, we should do a complete aside, or we should do every category that they did in the Heavy Music Awards, but do the actual winners.
Do it properly.
That might be fun.
Yeah.
But
let's let's start a beef.
This was a lovely podcast. Thank you for listening to us or looking at us, whatever you did. We appreciate you muchly, and we'll see you very soonly. Bye-bye.